To introduce our next inductee, please welcome Keith Forsyth.
Thank you, Clayton. Isn't this ironic? Because I coach the team that the Gophers Garden City just beat on a walk-off home run. So I'm a little down right now. No, I have the privilege of introducing our next inductee into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He is no stranger to this stage. This is his fourth time being inducted. Funny thing is, Corey Billaney is very humble, and he doesn't like people talking about him and doesn't like talking about his accomplishments because he's got a lot. And it's ironic because I don't really like saying a whole lot of nice things about him. So we're both in a bit of an awkward spot right now. I first met Corey when he was 14 years old, when I started coaching bantam baseball in Boys Vane, and he was our best player. Who knew we'd end up being teaching colleagues, coaching high school baseball together, not winning today, and becoming best friends. In fact, I consider him like my less good-looking little brother. I knew Corey had a different baseball mentality. He thinks the game too much. When he was 14 playing bantam, he decided to steal home on his own, and successfully. And when I got to the dugout, I said, well, that was a bold move. And he said, well, the pitcher was in the full, and he was slow, so I thought, why not? And I said, well, you might want to let the batter know so he doesn't murder you with the bat, but that's just how Corey is. And I can tell you right now, Corey, as a coach that's a little bit older, Corey takes too many chances in baseball, and I have to rein him in. If you want a trick play, the guy coming up here is the guy to text. He's got trick plays up his back pocket, and I don't appreciate most of them. So that I coached Corey in bantam baseball, and when he's 14, the next year we're teammates. Because in 1992, he joined. He's 15 years old, and within about 3 weeks was our starting catcher. And it was then that I realized that this kid is special as far as a baseball player goes. It didn't take long for word to get out that stealing a base against Corey was going to be a problem, because you're just going to get thrown out. Gravity stopped when he threw the ball. And you all know people like that. There was no gravity when he threw the ball. I remember a game in Melita. I was playing second base and he was on shortstop. And the shot deep in the hole in shortstop, he picks it up and he takes a couple of crow hops and another couple of crow hops and another couple of crow hops. And I'm saying to myself, throw the damn ball. And then throws a laser to first. I went, oh, we're on a different level here. So I just let him do his own thing. So it came pretty evident as far as the Centennials were, and being on defense, we didn't really worry about people running. They just didn't, because they were going to get thrown out. Corey played 5 seasons with the Centennials and was actually the winning run in the bottom of the 7th in the 1996 Provincial Championships. The same tournament, the junior break, won the semifinals, and then decided we'd throw him again. He won the finals. After that season, or shortly after that season, he became too cool for us. That's our saying. He's, of course, too cool for us. So he went over to Neepawa to play with the Farmers in the MSBL, and then he went on to play with the Bertle Blue Jays in the MSBL, and all 3 of those teams are in the Hall of Fame, and it's not a coincidence that Corey was a member of those teams. When I nominated Corey, I didn't send any stats in because A, I don't have any, and B, I knew in the small baseball community that people, when they looked at who we get nominated, oh, Corey Bill, yep, he's in. He was the guy that always planned on playing in a national championship when he was 12, because somebody was going to pick him up. So as soon as I sent that nomination in, I was very confident that the committee would say, yep, no problem here. This guy is a no-brainer. He's probably one of the biggest no-brainer decisions the committee's ever made. And he just finished coaching a high school season. He missed the final to be here. And this is how humble he is. He told the kids he wasn't going to be here, but he didn't tell them why. I wasn't going to do this. It's my pleasure to introduce Corey Billaney as the next member of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Hello, everybody. Thank you and congrats to all the other inductees here this evening. Thanks for being here tonight. When I first heard of my nomination, I was shocked and honored all at the same time, and many things rolled through my mind. Being recognized in a group of people who surround themselves with baseball in many ways, from organizing, coaching, promoting, officiating, playing, made me feel very proud. As I think back on all the years I played baseball, it became very clear to me that baseball was a means to meet people and to have fun on top of being part of many successful teams. I'd like to thank Keith Forsyth for nominating me for this award to the Hall of Fame. Keith and I have been friends for a long time, and I'm sure when he coached me in Bantam baseball, he didn't think in the future I would come back to the boys' vein and teach and play baseball with him and continue to be friends to this day. I coach with Keith, I work with Keith. He's a great friend, and for him to acknowledge my accomplishments in baseball is an unbelievable gesture, so Keith, I thank you for that. I'd like to thank my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, Anna, the girls. I think back to many times I leaned on my parents for most things in baseball, as most everyone did, and I've heard here tonight, through their baseball careers, and I can't thank them enough. A few memories. I'm sure most of you have great memories of your dads in baseball, and I knew at an early age my dad had a love for baseball, for watching baseball and listening to baseball. I can remember traveling home late Sundays with my dad heading home west, usually from the city. So the sun was in our eyes, and I was tired from a long weekend, and I'm sure he was too. He was always right there. And as we were driving west home from the city, almost trying to sleep, he was always trying to find an American AM radio station listening to Sunday night baseball. And the later it got, the more static got in the radio, and the louder he turned it. So there wasn't much sleeping with all the static with amongst the commentary behind the baseball game. Also, leaning on my dad when I was 16, first with my license, driving around Winnipeg. Mom and Dad couldn't make a lot of the games in the city. So my dad said, if you have any trouble getting anywhere in the city, just phone me. So at that time, obviously no cell phones, I had to use a payphone. So my dad was a Winnipeg Tribune driver, and he said to phone me. Well, I didn't know much being a passenger as a young boy, not picking up my head. I could get my way to Whittier Park, but I had no way or memory how to get to Elmwood. So from Whittier to Elmwood, I stopped at 3 payphones and phoned him, and he guided me to the next stop and to the next stop, and I got there. So he was my map from home, and I had no idea how he did it, but he did. Mom was always there in the background to giving me rides, making sure I was there on time, most of the time. I played in many tournaments, having to play all weekend and everyone knowing the cost of a canteen and eating out. Mom didn't like that, so she was bound and determined to pack a cooler. The night before, packing a cooler with way too much food and guaranteed to have one of the smelliest egg salad sandwiches in a cooler on a hot summer day, guaranteed. Regardless of what was in the cooler, it was always packed with care and love. To my brother Jason, and all the games of catch we played, the balls you hit me, you always made me want to be better than you. And I have a lot of passion and intensity for the game of baseball, and again, not as much as you, and I thank you for that. I want to thank Anna and the girls for allowing me to be away for many hours to stay part of the game that I love so much. I know along my career in playing and coaching, I've missed many things, and they've sacrificed that for me, but having you watch me do what I do makes me very happy. To my friends, who I've played many baseball games with and been many places with along my side from young to old. I'd like to say thanks to Ryan Albright, who's played many games of baseball and provincial weekends with me, and to Junior Brake, going into the hall with me tonight. Has probably been the easiest pitcher to catch throughout my career. Hold the mitt, hit it. Never shook off a pitch, unless it was to hit a guy. Then he seemed to lose his control. He played with passion, but never wanted to have an opponent upset at him. His stats are unbelievable, and that's why he's here tonight, so I'm happy to go in together. We've played a lot of baseball together, and I wouldn't want to do it with any two other guys. It's the game of baseball, and I suppose I should recognize the umpires for more than their faults. Without umpires, we wouldn't have this great game. I've sat in front of and probably protected quite a few umpires in my career and developed a pretty good relationship with a few of them along the way. Thanks for what you do for our game. I've heard many people talk about baseball stories. I've heard stories from Hall of Fame banquets. Every single one of them comes back to being a teammate. I've had the privilege to coach baseball and give back to the sport that gave me so much in my life. And there's one thing I preach to my teams that I coach, and it is about skill, about hitting, throwing, catching. It's about being a good teammate. I've had many friends and made many relationships with people across the continent because of the game of baseball. Also like to thank all the teams that I played on, from young boys teams to coaches as a youngster, being a boys Centennial, Coach Ken Pringle, the youth team coached by the late Neil Andrews, Neepawa Farmers and Garth White, only to name a few. But I thank you all for seeing some potential in a small town kid from Boisvane who loved to have fun, loved baseball, and wanted to play baseball every day. I would also like to recognize and thank the late Gladman Scott for all he's done for baseball and my teaching career, and for his relentless efforts to promote the game of baseball in rural Manitoba. In closing, I'd like to thank all who organized this hall, this dinner. It's a great evening. It's a daunting task to get it all organized, and I thank you for that. And I guess just like in baseball, when you're done, have a couple of beers. Thank you.